the season finale of Stranger Things just dropped, and I am a pretty big fan of Stranger Things. I wouldn't say I'm super into it. I'm not a super fan or anything. I'm a pretty basic fan when it comes down to it. But I mean, I grew up with Stranger Things. I've been watching since I was like pretty young. I of course have my gripes with it, but for the most part, Stranger Things is pretty great. And so I just wanted to talk about the finale here for a little bit. So I just got done watching it probably 10 minutes ago. I've been thinking about it, and I'm pretty surprised. I really thought the finale was gonna fumble. I was fully locked in. The finale was gonna suck, and I was gonna really dislike it. But the Stranger Things finale was actually really great. Like, I think it was a beautiful ending to a series I grew up with. I was really surprised by how good it was. I didn't think it would be that good. I thought about some of the characters and the arcs and the music and the final shots and all the stuff they go through, and it really is a good ending to a beautiful series. I really thought this was gonna end up like a Game of Thrones or a Dexter. I'm not saying it was perfect. It by far wasn't perfect. Okay, it wasn't perfect at all. But I do think it's a great ending. I think that all the characters really got what they deserved. I mean, and of course I have a few gripes here and there, but it was always about growing up, the loss of innocence, kids, losing people. I feel like season 4 drifted away from that. I think season 5 really hit it back hard with the Holly subplot and all that. Now, I do have a lot of gripes with the Holly subplot. I have a lot of problems with it, but this is strictly the finale. The obvious gripe out of the way. The final fight, extremely rushed. Okay, like it was very noticeably, you could feel the clock ticking. It was like 3 minutes. It wasn't bad. It's just nothing really happened. I mean, this was the big bad, the culmination of 5 seasons. Maybe a moment of doubt. The monster starts winning, which actually does happen, but the L shows up and they start winning again. But maybe they push back and they have another moment of doubt and they have to get over that. Like another, like, we might actually lose this, from like Dustin or someone. I think the Mind Flare showing back up was really cool. But I just feel like the fight should have been longer, should have been more intense. I feel like even Vecna goes out pretty easily. I'm also really confused as to why Will should have felt pain. Will probably shouldn't have died, but Will should have felt the pain of Vecna and like the Mind Flare dying. And that would have been such a better scene where instead of Joyce just having fun, chopping his head off, she like has to go fast because she knows that her son can feel it. I feel like that would have been a lot cooler, a lot more dramatic, but of course I'm not the Duffer Bros, so. Now, the government plot line was also super rushed, okay? All this stuff just ends, there's no real reckoning, no satisfying consequences, there's no proper fallout to any of it. I feel like the government plot line has always just been like, the writers going, let's just move on. Like, it's just a subplot, but as soon as they want it to be over, it just cuts off, and it's like nothing happens. Probably my biggest actual complaint there. I feel like the government has never been important enough in Stranger Things, and I feel like this season really shows it. They really just like cut it off. Insane. Jonathan and Steve have a little heart to heart, and Jonathan saves Steve in this episode. I think that's perfect. There's no jealousy. There's no weird tension. They talk, and they really balance each other out really well, in my opinion. I think Steve's growth and Jonathan's maturity is great. I think they're one of the best duos. I feel like it's not talked about enough. I think Jonathan is a very underrated character in general, by the way. Even though Steve is the best character, Jonathan, I feel like he's really underrated. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that. But I feel like the finale, just having them, save each other, get back together, and they're friends. They're real with each other. I really like that. And I've been waiting that for probably a while. Like, one of my favorite parts of the season, especially the finale. Jonathan and Nancy, though. Now, this was not the finale, but in my opinion, they should have never broken up. I think the relationship was super foundational to the characters, and it was really important. And I don't hate where they ended up. I just don't know how they got there. There was no character assassination or anything. I just think that, it was pretty messy, and I really don't see the point in them breaking up. I think the unproposal scene shouldn't have been a breakup. I think it should have just been, let's not fix our problems over marriage. And honestly, that's how I would have taken it if it wasn't for the Duffer Bros. But not even a part of the finale, so it really doesn't even matter So Callie obviously dies in the finale, and it's whatever you choose, whether Elle is dead or not. A big thing, I think Murray should have died. Murray and Vicky are the only characters who don't get a flash to the future when talking about them. And I think Vicky's fine because Vicky's Robin's girlfriend. She's not even that important anyways. But Murray is kind of important. He's not super important or anything, but he's there for the entire, like, the last few seasons. So I feel like he should have went out. I feel like instead of throwing the bomb, he should have, like maybe they were too heavy, so he has to, like, strap them to himself. And he knows that if he doesn't do this, they're gonna die. So he jumps into the helicopter with the bombs on. He sacrifices himself. His death, I feel like they immediately backtrack it just a few minutes later. And yeah, in my headcanon, she's definitely dead. I think Mike is just Delulu and imagining stuff. But you know, I don't like that they backtracked it. One of the only deaths of the main characters, and they immediately tried backtracking it. I have a problem with that. But it's not terrible, and plus it's a hypothetical of Mike's. But I don't know. I just think that Mike was Delulu. But even with that, the ending was still beautiful. The final scenes were pretty great. I think all the quiet looks, the music. I think Mike is so good at the end of the episode. I think Mike is a really strong part, and when they're in the scene where they're playing D&D, I think Mike is just so important to the series as a whole. So it's really nice to see him narrate as it goes out. I would like to see more of Will. Like, for the Duffer Bros to say it starts with Will and ends with Will, it does not end with Will. It ends with Elle, of course. You know, so I don't know. But I think Will should have been more important. Like, I think Will should have felt the pain of the hive mind going out. And I think even there's a chance that maybe Will should have died too there. But that one's a little bit more debatable. I don't think Stranger Things crashed at the finish line here. It definitely stumbled, but it crossed, and it has a lot of heart and has a lot of emotion, and I feel like a lot of people will like it, but I don't know if it's going to be like an amazing thing. I grew up with these characters, and the finale really respects that. I mean, was it false? No. But was it sincere? Absolutely. And the government is so messy, and the wrap-up is absolutely terrible. But it's a beautiful ending to a series that meant a lot to me. And if you disagree, that's fine. This thing was pretty great. I think there's definitely problems, but I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's... I would probably say it's around a 7.8. I think it's right on the cusp of being 8 there. Or you could just say an 8. You know, I don't care. If you want my opinions on the other 2 volumes, I'll totally give those, but yeah, this is just my opinion on the finale. The finale, I would say, was a 7.8. I have a little bit different opinions on the other 2 volumes, but the finale, I think, is pretty good. Yeah, I just think the final fight is rushed. I think, in general, it's kind of rushed up until you get to the end. But, you know, it's a beautiful ending, and it's a series I grew up with, so I'll never be that mad at it. Anyways, yeah, that's all I had to yap about. Bye.